Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Sean from How to RPG. Good to see some of you. I've got a little bit of a different setup today. Nothing too crazy, but see how it works. Good to see you, Roger. Glad you could show up. We're a little early. A little unusual being early. And to make sure my ducks were all in a row, I've got a new interface I'm testing out today, the audio interface. So, what's up, Blake? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. I gotta go get something to drink. I drank all my iced coffee, and I don't have a vanilla Coke. And it'll be an hour before I get anything else. So let me. What's up, Caverna? Good to see you. Agua. Matty Q, what's going on, William? All right. What is going on? What is going on? How's everybody doing? A little disappointed I didn't grab a vanilla Coke ahead of time, but you know, what are you going to do? How's my sound? How does my audio sound? Sound all right? A little low? Dice Demons. Lou, good to see you. Good to see you. Sounds good. Visual's good. Are we good to go, Blake? Check. Roll credits. 3, 2, 1. Lima Charlie. Hope everybody had a good week. Played some games, I hope. For those of you, I don't know a ton of you. I don't know if a ton of you are watching or listening to our Delta Green Impossible Landscapes actual play, but that has come to an end. I'll just say that. What's up, Michael? You know, I forget until somebody points it out, Matty Q. Yeah, it's terrible. I hate it. I'm doing it just to like spite other people, like my wife and my boss. Not my boss, my boss's boss. Yeah. I never shave an entire week. I never shave. I usually shave at the end of a week. And when I shave, I use this TMI, some of my hygiene habits. I usually take just a mustache trimmer, beard trimmer, and just shave off, like so it's not itchy. But I'm very rarely clean shaven. Very rarely bust out the actual razor blade. And so last week, instead of like taking it all off, I left the mustache part. It's terrible. It's just so it's so terrible. Grow the whole thing out. Yeah, I don't know if I could do a beard. I've tried it. I think I did it during the pandemic. One of the things I did was like, I think I did a Van Dyke during the pandemic. And I think I did this during the pandemic. Like, I think I have live streams with me like that. So just the mustache and like the goatee looking thing, kind of looking like a Three Musketeer, or a Musketeer, I should say. Yeah, facial hair, man, it just makes me itch. It drives me nuts. So I can never grow the big beard. And I don't want the big soup catchers, man. Like, I am personally not a fan of dwarven beards. I'm just not. He's growing in the handlebars for his Mario costume for GHC. Yeah, something like that. I call it my North Side Chicago look. So if you aren't familiar with Saturday Night Live and the Bears, that's like Chicago mustaches, yeah. Or the Reno 911 cops douche. I might do it in November. Maybe No Shave November. I can get the guys at work to participate. Over by there, yeah. Oh, it's the Bears. They're going to be going all the way. And then the doubles. Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, and then I forget I have it, and it's like somebody mentions it. Most people won't, right? They're not going to be like, whoa, look at that thing. Not Maddie Q. Maddie Q be like, man, look at that porn stash. You definitely look like a creeper. We have other names for it, but I won't say it on stream. But Kelly, good to see you. Yeah, I can't usually. I was trying to do the Ron Swanson, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think I'll be able to pull it off. I think it takes a very unique person to pull off a good mustache. Tom Selleck wouldn't be Tom Selleck without his mustache. And Sean wouldn't be Sean with a mustache. What's up, Nubis? Good afternoon. All right, let's get this thing underway, shall we? We're 5 minutes in. Today, I think what I want to ask, since we've been spreading love, right? We've asked about favorite RPG publisher, favorite RPG website. And we've done favorite RPG podcast. So being here on this platform, I think it's only apropos to ask, who is your favorite RPG YouTuber? And I'll say YouTuber or streamer. Or streamers. No, streamers as in like maybe actual play. But that would be one stream. So live, maybe in Twitch. Maybe Twitch and YouTube, live streamers or live YouTubers. Because you can be a streamer and not be on YouTube. You could be on YouTube and not stream. So who's your favorite, present company excluded? Like, I'll just put it out there so you don't offend me. Your second favorite streamer / YouTuber. Morning, Orcus Dorcas. Good to see you on this fine July 15th morn. I don't watch too many live streams. Caverna's got a YouTube. I'll say it. Caverna's YouTube. There you go. Go check out Caverna's YouTube. Hey, Tad. Good to see you. We're asking who your favorite streamer or YouTuber is. Wow, look at everybody thinking. I could hear the smoke coming from your ears. Hear the smoke? Smell the smoke. See the smoke? I don't know if you can hear the smoke. It's like the worst like statement there. You, seriously, I'm here, ain't I? Don't watch any other live streams regularly, says Wayne Peacock. Give me a break, Wayne. Very kind of you, sir. Thank you. Wayne, checks in the mail, Wayne. Wayne says that so he can continue to play in our every other Thursday night group. Caverna says, usually I've watched the video after the stream when I have time. Oh, thanks. Blake Ryan says, Dork done some good Mage the Ascension series. Let's check out Dork. Orcus Dorcas says, Bud's RPG reviews in case Blake snitches on me. Bud over at the UK does quite a bit of Delta Green and some Cthulhu. Matty Q says, I do like me some Seth Swarkowski. Matt used to be great, but since getting rich, his content is super spotty. Not going to assume which Matt you're talking to, but I have an idea. Wade says, contractual obligation. Indeed. Verna says, your live stream is the only one that I make the effort to watch live. Oh, thank you very much. Very kind of you, Caverna. Matty Q says, continues, Dave, I never know how to say Dave's last name. Tomavor? Dave Tomavor 2. I've seen his stuff come around. Caverna says, but Three Skulls Tavern has good recorded live streams. I'll have to check them out. I think I actually have them in my podcatcher. Maybe they put them out on his YouTube's podcast audio, I think. Good morning, Beer Leaguer. I know who you are. What's the question, Michael Holland? Stepped away. Well, Mr. Holland, the question of the day is, if you we're not off going to the bathroom, is who's your favorite streamer or YouTuber? Your RPG streamer, RPG YouTuber. You might have other streamers or other YouTubers, but RPG related. Blake says, Sean was my favorite until he ran out of vanilla Coke. Wah, wah. Yeah, I know, Blake. I'm full of disappointment. That's who I am. Nubis says, none of these are live, but here's some I like. Bandit's Keep, Alexandrian, Nobody Wake the Bugbear, edited Mothership actual plays, and Adam Cobal's Backlog. Sue me. Ooh. I won't be able to put that in this shorts. And it doesn't have to be live, just so you know. Like, if a YouTuber doesn't have to stream live. I'm saying streamer just because I could have probably separated them, but I figured some people might not be YouTuber fans, but they are streaming fans. I don't know. So we're meshing them. Prenzlau, good morning. How could you forget? You gotta ring the bell, then you get notified. Speaking of which, if you have liked the first 10 minutes of this show, could you please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up? And if you don't like it, that's okay. You could give me a thumbs down. YouTube doesn't really, I don't know if YouTube really cares, as long as there's interaction. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. That would be greatly appreciated. Dankeschön. Orcus Dorcas says, I don't watch a lot of actual plays, but I will give it up for Third Floor Wars. And we want to express a get well soon to Mr. Craig Shipman, who had surgery lately. Am I violating HIPAA? I'm not a medical physician. He put it out on his Discord, so it's public. He had last minute surgery and he's recovering nicely, is what my understanding. So some of his things have been put on hold temporarily, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. So I want to express a get well soon to Mr. Craig Shipman of Third Floor Wars. Matty Q says, Bandit's Keep is pretty awesome. Tad, +1 for Seth Skorkowski, and lots of mini and terrain folks. Uh-oh, here's Jason. He's got some thought into his all the time. He says, shut up and sit down covers RPG, maybe 15 to 20% of the time. I follow that show and this show only for RPGs. Wow, thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Caverna, if it is not to be only streamers, I have a huge list. Actually, I made 2 videos about it, and it was very nice to put me in there. Thank you, Caverna. I saw that. Did not go unnoticed. Prenzlau says, I look for variety and humor in any show, but because you are my friend, I make an exception and watch it. Yeah. Spoken like a true friend. Thank you. Verna continues. Me, myself, and Die, the bad spot, the dungeon dive, geek gamers are the biggest ones. No Matt Colville? Who else is out there? Honorable mentions? Spread the love. Maybe it's not your favorite, but you watch them anyway. Although I realize some of you have taken the liberty and the initiative to list more than one, which is fine. Because you guys are all overachievers. That's why I like you. Mine would have to be for RPGs. I do like, is it Professor Dungeon Master? Is it Professor? Is he the guy that dresses up really nice? I always get their names mixed up. What a big fan I am, right? I think he does some pretty good work. And I think he's most current. I think that's his moniker. He's the guy that's sitting down, camera's a little bit higher, and dresses in like a tweed sports coat all the time. Probably my age. Orcus Dorcas says, honorable mentions, Jorfdan. Okay. Oh, I was wrong. That's Dungeon Masterpiece, I think is Roger's correcting me. Dungeon Masterpiece. And then Lou's like Dungeon Craft. And then Maddie says, yes, Professor DM. So are you guys all correcting me with different ones? I think it's Professor Dungeon Master. He's the one with like the War Duke at the beginning. Dungeon Craft. It's Dungeon Craft, the channel, I think, is Matty Q who's talking about. Like, I think that's what I'm talking about. He's telling me. Tad says, enjoying the rules lawyer since returning to Pathfinder. Yeah, that is a good point, too. Like, we kind of at times ebb and flow depending on the subject matter we're interested in. Like, I've watched YouTube folks that are, like, covering Impossible Landscapes. You know, I've given props out to Lollygaggers, like the Glass Cannon Show's rendition of the first chapter, which I think they've picked up again recently, so I'll have to tune in. Wayne says, as far as non-live, very hard to pick a favorite. Dungeon Craft, Orcus Dorcas, Ben Milton, Digital Hobbit. Yeah, shout out to Mirko. Digital Hobbit. Guy's down on VTTs, but I'll let it slide. Our own Mirko Freilich. Betty Q's we're correcting each other indeed. Yes, Deathbringer. That's it. Roger says Professor DM does have Deathbringer, so every once in a while I'll tune into him because he's pretty articulate. And the thing is like there are plenty of YouTube streamers or /streamers, mainly YouTubers, but they're not always going to hit a home run. I think with many of us, we'll tune in. Oh, that was a good one. Next one, ooh, not so bad. I know a couple where they've gotten a little, how do I put it? Like during the OGL specifically, or some hot topic, they'll have a take, and they almost get very personal or very emotional, and then in that video it seems very off of their typical videos. Is it Dungeon Masterpiece? It is not, Ty. Oh, it's like, it is Dungeon Masterpiece. Sean, it is Dungeon Masterpiece. Okay. For you, Ty, that's your favorite? Or are you just correcting me? It's hard to get this out of text, especially with the delay. Luke K says, Dungeon Craft is my favorite. That's Professor DM. Got it. Like there's the channel and then there is the person. So sometimes we get them mixed up one and of the same or different. Living Ritual, good to see you. Good morning. He says he's very new, but I like Arbiter of Worlds channel. Yeah, nothing wrong with giving somebody some love when they're new, especially. Orcus Dorcas, old guy in suit, Dungeon Craft. Younger guy in suit, Dungeon Masterpiece. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm getting mixed up. Tad says, oh yeah, I'm bringing glass can of Delta Green right now. Binging, not bringing, binging. Yeah, it's good. Impossible in the Night Floors chapter. I was disappointed that they ended it and didn't continue. Now I think they're back, which is interesting because I'm going to mention old Troy LaValle, something he did online. I think he's learned a lesson this past week. Matty Q says, Terrible Warriors is a great podcast. They have like 30 campaigns with various systems and it's all audio. I love their cult and Simba Room runs. They've done very well done. Got it. Oh, you're correcting me. Thanks, Ty. Excuse me. Mirko's working on the new Google VTT, inevitably abandoned in 18 months. I saw that they released a new product. I can't remember what it was. The reason I can't remember is because I didn't want to succumb to it and then have it canceled. Ugh. I'm going to try. Since we're on this subject, I'm going to try something. I'm trying an experiment, and I don't know if it's going to be successful. And I've been toying around like what and how to do, like I think I mentioned on the last week's stream, like how to approach this thing, like YouTube. Making like, probably not even a nickel a month at the amount of people that watch these now that I'm monetized. But yeah, it's the pre-recorded, the recorded videos, not the live, in the approach. My consultant, like I had said, had given me very critical advice, critical as in good, actually, about my other videos being very stuffy and not who I am. So I'm going to try to do more natural videos and more consistently, but I may not put them on this channel. I'm going to try to put them on a different channel, and I want to see what happens when I do it more consistently, more diligently, and more naturally. So we'll see what that looks like. Updates to come. Mr. Hobbs, what up? What does this community call itself? Well, that's the $1 million question now, isn't it? Nubis says, Professor DM, Matt Colville, and Dave Thumavor have fallen out of my favor. Honorable mentions include Deku Games, Dungeon Masterpiece, and Map Crow. Excuse me. I don't know what this community calls itself. We could call it the Dice Chuckers. Good morning, Dice Chuckers. RPGers, who knows? Michael Holland says, number one, how to RPG, the only stream that has its own alarm on my phone. What? Get out of here. Has its own alarm on my phone. Ed Greenwood has a fun stream on Forgotten Realms lore, and the Glass Cannon Network is great for Pathfinder content. Indeed. All right. I think podcasting for sure is definitely Ed. I think that's Ed's natural. He just is a talker. Put a mic in front of him. He'll just talk for hours. Caverna says, I used to watch the live streams from Hexed Press. There are good stuff there too. Nice. Are you working on having a stash? Well, that's kind of a trick question. I don't know if I'm working on one, Prenslow. I just decided to like shave around my lip. That's what I probably did. Pre-published, heyo. Props to Lou. Callback, heyo. Inside joke callback. This community, currently we call ourselves the Stashes. Well, I don't think everybody that watches this has a stash. $1 million? I don't know, man. To add to your list of reviews, Rogers is Dave Thaumavor's RPG review. That's Ty. That's what he says. There's this amazing Forbidden Lands campaign and YouTube channel that was going really well, but for some reason they've decided to not continue it. Therefore, I won't mention the channel's name. It's very kind of you, Caverna. I'm sure they would. I'm sure they appreciate it, whoever that may be. Talker, Wolfgang Bauer. Yeah, I think some of these guys might be like in their offices typing up on RPG books for so long, especially, well, Ed is author, right? So. All right. Thanks for contributing to today's little question. I appreciate it. So, all right, let's get into this stuff. All right. Let's do this. Talk about some stuff. Hey, the Ennies are open, by the way. So if you haven't voted for the Ennies, they're not open for like a month now. I think you got like maybe a week, and they just opened yesterday, day before. So 2 days in, make sure you go over to the Ennies, put in a vote for whoever you might think is interesting or know is interesting and has your attention. We went through some of them last week, got really long, and I couldn't finish it. Story of my life. Hi, Sean, how is your Hex Space game going? My Hex Space? You mean the next Hex? The Forbidden Lands game? Is that the one you're referring to, Ty? Or Forbidden Lands? Yeah, Forbidden Lands. Is that the one? Or are you talking about the West Marches game that I proposed and had a conversation about with you guys like a couple weeks ago? I think there's a few things with the Hex thing. Sci-Fi West Marches. Yeah, that has not. So, God, man, this cough. So the West Marches game I still want to do. I'm trying to figure it out. I have spoken to one person so far to get their insight into how they run West Marches. I have another one scheduled for a week from today to talk about it because he's running one. And these are individuals that have a podcast or YouTube channel that have run it. I've reached out to Ben Robbins as well as Justin Alexander. I'm waiting for responses from them to see if I can get them on as well and do kind of a, like, what is a West Marches? How best to run it? What systems may be really good for it? How do you, like, what are some of the logistics you have to deal with and some of the tools that you might use? So when somebody watches it, they're like, here are some of the gotchas. Oh, also some of the gotchas you might run into, so that when somebody wants to run a West Marches game, they watch the video and go, okay, I think I've got all this, in mind, and I can address some of those details and take care of it. So we'll see. Mr. Hobbs' Gamerhood says, surely a doucher. Well, I don't know. Maybe. I heard he's very self-deprecating. Is at least I could probably say that. And Wayne, you're right. If anyone has a nomination, by all means. I'm not that I am preferring somebody that has a podcast or a YouTube. I don't know if that would be clout chasing necessarily, but I think there's just recognition, and there's a couple reasons why I ask for a YouTuber or a podcaster. One, I know they have a microphone and they might have a camera, and they probably will sound fairly decent without like, here, let me put in my earbuds and sound like I'm sitting in a tunnel, or talking over the telephone, sounding like crap. Not to mention, I think some people will respect some of their expertise in like they have a show, so they talk about it all the time. They think about it all the time, and then they've actually done it themselves. So I think there is a little bit of an added credibility in that space. So I would certainly ask some of you, like, oh, you've run West Marches? Cool. Let's get you on the show. Da 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 da. But I'm not yet. So we'll see. I don't want to like keep putting it off in hopes that I'll get 3 or 4 people when I can only get maybe 1 or 2. We'll see. D Dice is nominated and is really cool. Okay. I think Scum and Villainy could be a good system that could be good for a West Marches game. Is it? Isn't there a lot of little in-between downtime rolls and stuff? And how, I don't know. I guess maybe. Kevin, good to see you. Saltheart, I feel self-conscious when Sean talks about tunnel voice. Do you have tunnel voice? You don't have tunnel voice, do you? Sounds like a crap on videos. That's me. No. 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 Come on now. Prezzo says, do you find a live show more inspiring to do versus just making a video and putting that out there? I do. I find it easier because I could just fire this up. And frankly, it's because everybody in the chat that I get to interact with. There's no, what am I going to say? What points do I have to hit? It's just, you could watch the videos I've done and see that they're very they're very unnatural or more unnatural. And I know that's probably because I haven't done like 50 of them and found my just kind of way to go and my natural voice. But it's different sitting down and recording them. And I can't even tell you how many takes I do for some of those. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, all right, I screwed that up. Let's start again. Oh, I screwed up. Start again. So the live piece is just firing it up. But frankly, this would be pretty boring if nobody was here. Honestly, I say it, if I haven't said it every week, I know I've mentioned it, having people in the chat is invaluable. Ty says, I've not played Scum before. Mr. Hobbs, that's your regular voice, Kevin. Live is less work and more love, for sure. So having an audience creates a more natural disposition. I would say, yeah, I would think so. To me, for sure. It's like I don't have a script up here right now. I mean, I've got some things to talk about, but if we get into a topic, I don't have any. I'm just speaking my mind. So I think I have to have some of that mentality. I could probably take a segment of this show with the chat. So say if I say, hey, today we're going to talk about hex crawls. So what's really important in hex crawls? Okay, Prenzlau says a hex, surviving, da-da-da-da-da. And then I could do that and then put that out as a video. But then I don't know how well those do when they're recorded live, and it usually takes on longer than a 15-minute format, which is always something pretty. I try to stay within on some of those shorter videos. They get too long. YouTube is a big fan of people that get through an entire video. And if like these live streams, I doubt anybody gets through the entire thing. They'll maybe scrub through it if I put in time markers, which I should start doing more diligently. Yeah. The YouTube is not a fan of somebody starting a video and then bolting like before the halfway mark. And I don't even think it matters how long it is. Ty, is Sean's hair a wig? My hair is not a wig. It's natural, man. I can confirm. Plus, you get grooming tips from your live chat. Well, yeah, of course. There you go. Orcus Dorcas always full of ideas. Go. And Orcus Dorcas has a YouTube channel. I should probably point that out. He didn't even mention his own. Look at that humility. Orcus Dorcas does a lot of unboxing, man. He's got a lot of people sending him a lot of free product. It's like rock and roll, right? Back in the 80s. Whoa, some cringy times at some of those songs. But some of those rock and rollers, man, what'd you get? Why did you get into rock and roll, man? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, it's for all the babes or whatever. Some of us create a YouTube channel so we can get all the games. Man, I didn't start a podcast or a YouTube channel to become famous, man. I just wanted the games. Yeah. Thanks, William. Show is one of the things I look forward to each week. Appreciate it. Pencilmage, good to see you. Good to see you. Every creator gets more and more viewers over time. Do you think it'll ever be a bit overwhelming? I see some creators where the majority of viewers have to be ignored. That's a good question. I would hate to have that problem. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I mean, would I like to grow to like I would like to be. There's a few things that have specifically in the last week have really kind of got me thinking about this platform. You know, I've done podcasting and what that looks like. And then I've also thought about the RPG space as a whole. And there's a handful of people on YouTube that have over 100,000 subscribers. I don't think 100,000 subscribers is going to get you a ton of money from YouTube. I mean, you have to have a lot, like you have to have 1 million subscribers, a few million like viewers, and there's some metrics, click-throughs and things of that nature to really make anything that's worth money on this platform. I mean, the amount that you need is crazy large. Is the side money, you know, if you get $100 a month, is that pretty nice? I would think it's pretty nice, but is that going to allow you to retire or quit your day job? Probably not. Having said that, a lot of those folks that are creators on YouTube make money in different ways, not from actual YouTube videos or from YouTube itself, but they'll do, you know, sponsor deals and things of that nature. Hell, some of them even make their own product. Mr. Beast fascinates me. He is just, for as young as he is and as driven and focused as he is and as big as he is, what he does, how he does it, what his mentality, like for somebody like me, it's like, I don't want to be Mr. Beast. As a matter of fact, he encourages everybody not to be him because of the amount of pressure, and it's just a fascinating space. He's got his own chocolate line, right? He's got his own burger joints. So anyways, I digress. What I would like to do, where was I going with this? What was the question? Do you ever think it'll be a bit overwhelming? Going to Pencilmage's question. I don't know if it'll be overwhelming. It could be, but you know, we're in a finicky space too. Like it wouldn't be very hard for me to get canceled. I don't think. If I said one wrong thing and it got out to the masses, the mob could come down and I could be done tomorrow. I don't know if that's the same for every YouTuber, content creator, podcaster. I think there is, but some have like just said, you know, I don't care what anybody else says. I'm just going to do it. So there is I'm not unaware of that. I don't think it'll be that overwhelming, but I would like to be somebody that somebody posted, who is it? A Kodakin? Shoot. Was it you, Michael? Somebody else? Roger? Maybe Roger. I think it was Roger. Posted on our Discord where an individual went to Roll20 to find a game. And maybe it was a Reddit post originally. And so then went to Roll20. Regardless, it was somebody who had never dipped their toe in the hobby. And they've always wanted to play. And they've always been intimidated. And I think I'm sure I'm getting this a little skewed, but they joined a group, but they were very nervous about not being as well versed as the other people at the table with the game rules, how to play. And I could say that if I look back, way back when I first started, we were kids, so we had a little less, some of us were less conscious, some of us maybe not so much. But this hobby can be very, very intimidating. If you pick up any other hobby, some of those other hobbies are very insular. You want to go and learn how to shoot bow and arrow, like Brett being a hunter. You get a bow, you get some arrows, you go out in the backyard and just start shooting up stuff, right? Targets. You go hunting. It could be very solo. You want to learn how to cross stitch. You go get the materials, watch some YouTube videos, start creating your own material that way. So there are a lot of hobbies that I think, not all, but a lot of hobbies you can do. You can just pick up and go, this is what I like to do. And within that hobby space, there is community, so to speak, because there's other people that share the same passion you do. But you don't have to rely on those other people to kind of do what you appreciate and like within that particular hobby. Role-playing games, minus solo role-playing, right? Minus the solo, which is starting to come up and bubble up, you got to have a few people at the table or the virtual table, if you will. You got to play with other people. So it's a very social piece, which is so crazy because we've always been bashed for socially awkward nerds, but yet, it's like freaks and geeks, right? Like we're nerds within our own secular community. So it's like when you're in your own nerddom, are you really a nerd? Like you're just everybody else. When viewed from outside, maybe. But the point I'm making is with this person, to get to the point, dude, I'm not short-winded. This is like an hour, 2-hour show. Is that it can be very intimidating to get into this hobby. And I've had spouses that have joined groups and they are still, after all this time, still intimidated by the other players that have been playing this since 1980. I started in 1976. I got dice older than you. And it's, why wouldn't anybody be intimidated in this hobby? So and then they posted on Roll20 like, hey, I'm looking for another game, and this is kind of my spiel. And then what guys like, post a link to one of his games, kind of like a classified. Here's a link. Create a character, 3d6 down the line. Oh, and here's some more games. Like that's that person's, hey, come on in and join the hobby. Like I'll help you out. I'll navigate that. It'll be low pressure. Like Jim, our moderator, is like, well, they, I guess, tried to help him. Like, yeah, sure. If you're going skydiving and somebody pushes you out of the plane, that's helping you. But I mean, it's not the type of help I think some people need. I should have grabbed my soapbox. But so going to this channel, I would really like it to be where it bubbles up to the top, where I could still have opinions, but not fricasseed because it doesn't align with the rest of the world. I have to have my own opinions and my own kind of identity, but also make it so that anyone in the hobby would appreciate some of the details of what that looks like. And I'm never going to probably hit that because it's such a, there's so many subgroups and cliques within our own hobby. Like we could boil it down to the types of games that we play. We could boil it down to the styles of play that we have, et cetera, et cetera. To hit all of the spectrum is pretty difficult, I think. So I'm missing all kinds of stuff you guys are talking about here. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, Pencilmage. I don't want to ignore my community. One thing I've always, I don't know why, it's very much at the root of my being and my want to be a part of a community or build one. And I think because I look at famous people, I look at, and not even so much famous people, like when I was coming up in RPGs and I would listen to a bunch of podcasts, and they're to me, I thought they were like, oh, this is so cool. Podcasters, like, oh, and it's like calling into a radio show and getting your voice played on the air. Like, what do you want? Request time, right? Hey, caller, what's your name? And what do you want to hear? Hey, Sean, I want to hear November Rain by Guns N' Roses. Awesome. Where are you calling from, Sean? I'm calling from Madison, Wisconsin. And then, 10 minutes later, that would be on the radio. And when I'd interact with people or pose a question on Twitter or whatever that looked like, and I didn't get a response, like I was talking to a black hole, it just soured me so much on that individual. And it's okay if that's kind of their shtick. Like, you have to come to terms with, well, that's just who they are. They're not going to give you the time of day. It's like the actor that you really admire, and you go up and you've got your high expectations, and you're like, oh yeah, it's Harrison Ford. Oh God, I love Indiana Jones. Han Solo. Oh God, and without losing your shit, going up to them and saying, hey, I really like I'm an admirer of all the work that you've done. I love Indiana Jones. I love Han Solo. Thank you so much. And they just go, yeah. And then they don't even acknowledge you and they walk away. To me, that would be, now, of course, there's a time and a place. He's eating dinner with his family. I don't think it's appropriate to like invade their lives because they have some too. I also think that that's the space they kind of get into, whether they like it or not. And I think most of them understand what that looks like. And so for those that kind of shun their own fandom, doesn't make any sense to me. I can imagine they can't sign autographs for every single person that they come to and take pictures. I mean, they would never get anywhere, like physically. Like, they wouldn't get to their meetings on time and concerts because they'd be tied up at an airport for 3 hours. But so going back to growing and not acknowledging the community, I don't want that to happen. I think that's why I think I want to probably start filtering folks to the Discord so I can still be in contact with many of you on a consistent basis. And I never want to get too big. I want to stay grounded. And I think by having people that that are just like you, and the only difference is I get up here on Saturdays and just start talking, makes me not lose scope of like, people become different a lot of times. And sometimes it's not the person that is maybe, oh, well, Sean was cool until he got too big for his britches. Wow. That's a grandma thing to say, but it's true, and sometimes it's not me, it's the other person. Right. Sean doesn't give me the time of day anymore. Huh? Well, is it me or is it the other person? I don't know. But I think there's something to be that. But so community is a big deal. That's why on Gaming and BS, if you've never listened to that show, that is the sole purpose for Random Encounter. Like how do I get the community involved in this show and be a part of it? And some formats do it much better than others. Like, if I did an actual play, that's going to be pretty tough, right? But when you do, like, I want a segment of the show where people can write in and tell us we're wrong, tell us we're right, share their own thoughts. And by doing that, they appreciate that, and they will be like, that it goes back to the radio hour, right? The request or the write-in. They read my letter, so I have a connection with these guys. I'm going to start listening to them because I can relate to them and I can give them feedback, and it's going to be listened to. I'm just not yelling into a black hole, into the void. So there you go. Fuck, Jesus. Pencilmage. Is that what you wanted to hear? Oh, man. All right. What about the conversation with guests with interaction and questions from chat? Yes, that is not, that is a possibility. GM Mastermind, I like the concept. Scheduling people is a pain in my ass. So I either got to get somebody that just does it for me and this is who it is and why. I just like, I'm trying to get Justin Alexander and Ben Robbins. I don't know if Ben does any audio or video, right? He's kind of a blogger. He does games. I bought his games. I even told him like, and frankly, I've been on the receiving end. Like Gaming and BS will get a solicitation. Hey, BS, you know, like it's a form letter. It's not personal. They may mention the show in the right context or they may not. Some that do, okay, I'll read it, but it's like, oh, I want to be on your show. Well, I'm not asking you to be on my show. We don't do guests like on Gaming and BS a lot. And if we do, we're going out to reaching for them because we know we could use their expertise in bringing them in. I don't do a lot of cold solicitations and go, oh yeah, oh cool, you know, you're not even RPG related, but you want to be on my show. That makes sense. So my point is even getting guests to like respond and be interested. And there's a level of trust. Craig Shipman has gotten there because I think part of Craig's, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, I think he would be adult enough to admit it. I think when he interviewed John Harper and he and John clicked, I mean, he had John probably on there at least a second time. He did a live stream on Twitch with John. And he has a rapport with John, and then John is connected with a bunch of other game designers. And I'm sure, I don't know if Craig has said, hey, just as an FYI, here's my interview with John Harper. If you know John, he can kind of vouch for my credibility or trust, you know, to not like be a muckraker of some kind. And I think that helped him get other guests that he's had on his show because a lot of them have connections with John Harper. So there's also that, like, who's this guy? Who's Sean? Like, I reached out to one who's up for next week, talk about West Marches, but he doesn't know me from a hole in the ground. I've listened to him, and I like his experience and background and his show, but today's age, it's weird. Like, I could be ultra right-winger, you know, none of this belongs in gaming. Get out of here with that. You know, it's all crap. Get, you know, the whatever brigade out of my face. And then they come on my show and they're like, well, I don't have the same philosophical leanings you do, and I don't want to be associated with you. So it is a weird landscape for guests. So I'm not opposed to getting guests and interacting from the chat. There's a few moving parts, Tad, with that. One, I got to get the guests. Two, I'd have to schedule it when they're available. And three, I have to have people show up to ask the questions. I could do it interactively, or I could do it ahead of time and put it on a subreddit and people, hey, I'm going to have this person on the show, start asking questions, and then people could upvote them. And then, of course, during the interview, as we interview or go through the discussion, then I can inject those like, hey, you know, Tad from Reddit wants to know, blah, you know. But if it moves, if it's not a consistent night and I do it live, that's a problem. Because Tad's going to probably be able to make Wednesdays as an audience member, but probably not Thursdays when the guest actually wants or can be on there. Just too many balls in the air. Pompadours. Orcus Dorcas, don't spoil my grift as I expose his getting RPGs for free. I'd like to see Jeff on your show as a guest, but that might be going too far. You have no idea, dude. I've had conversations with Jeff. Some of the folks in the chat know of Jeff. Some have met Jeff. And when he stopped into Gamehole Con one year, I could tell you this, Jeff is definitely not wanting to give WotC any more money. I'll say that. I don't think that's a big secret. He's bought in the last week, OSE Advanced, Osric, a copy of Osric, and Castles and Crusades. And he's devouring them. So when Jeff gets into like some thought into his head, he goes all in. I don't know if he'll play any of them or somebody else will run them for him. But he is, and it's very interesting with Jeff. So I met with Jeff not too long, like a week ago. I haven't seen him in a while. we had kind of a kerfuffle in the past over like Curse of Strahd and the Star Wars game. But I've known him for so long, as well as Pencilmage. But some of the conversation that had was fascinating to me because Jeff is the majority of RPGs. The person that Jeff, not maybe not him, or some of the things he thinks about, but you guys watching this different space than a majority of the RPG hobby. Watching a YouTuber, listening to a podcast, belonging to a Discord, playing more than one game or more than two games, different world. Like Brett and I used to say, I don't know if it would be alpha gamer or type A gamer, but we're different. Like we are different within the hobby. And so when I talk to Jeff and he's like, Sean, I'm thinking about playing something else, or you know what I was thinking? I go, what's that? He's like, I said, you're thinking about old school. And he's like, yeah, AD&D. We would play AD&D. Would you play AD&D? And I said, Jeff, you know how messed up that game is? Yeah, I know, but we didn't use like half of it, which is true. So now that I'm older, would we want to, or would we just hand wave that stuff like weapon speed and all that other crap that we never paid attention to? And I said, well, Jeff, here are some other ones that you might want to take a look at. And he's like BX. And I said, let me tell you about OSE. And so it goes down this like rabbit hole, and he's like, what? A whole new world. And I said, that's not even like what would be considered new OSR. And I'm like, do you even know do you know OSR, what that means and what that movement is? Movement, whatever, style, play, I don't know, whatever you want to assign those three initials. But he like, I'm reading this now. It's crazy. Oh, I can't find this book and I'm trying to find it. Like he couldn't find OSE in print form for like a reasonable amount. He found a used copy, but new, I don't think he could find it less than $85. So those short print runs, man, they really drive up the value on some of those games. So would I have Jeff on the show to talk about kind of like from where he's coming in his perspective? Maybe, I don't know. I think he even said something about, I could be on your show, or you could, I really wish you would end up gaming in BS. And I don't even know, honestly, if he listened to more than one episode. But my point is that it's intriguing to me because he's like, he doesn't know about Beyond the Wall, The Black Hack, Lamentations of the Flame Princess, Five Torches Deep, Forbidden Lands, Symbaroum, 13th Age, Shadow of the Demon Lord. Knows like maybe he's heard of a game of those, or one or two, but completely in the dark, and because that's not his jam. He plays 5th edition, and he's going through Dragonlance right now, and he's like, he liked Descent into Avernus. He said the dungeon master that's running him through it had to tweak a lot of the front end, which I had heard was pretty common. And he was a fairly big Dragonlance fan growing up, he and I, and read all the books, liked the lore. I don't think we ever really, I think we tried going through some of the scenarios, but that's all pre-gens, and the books have already been written, so it's a little awkward. But he's just not jamming on the Dragonlance scenario. And I said, well, is that the DM, or is it the scenario, or is it a combination of both? And he's like, I don't know, because the DM ran a pretty decent Avernus game. So I don't know if it's necessarily that. And so I don't know. So I think he's looking for something different, which is interesting because I even called him out for like min-maxing and and optimizing. Because then I also sent him Monty Cook's White Tower design article. So if you're not familiar with that, Google it. I think you can find a picture of the article that's on a subreddit somewhere. And it's Monty Cook did a blog article years ago about how they tackled the design of 3rd edition. And they looked at Magic the Gathering and some of the synergies and things that Magic used in its makeup and design. And I don't, there is there is a better way to play Magic. There is an optimized way to get different cards to different combinations to make you put you above as a player. And people have pointed to that article and said, look, it's in the design. It's designed to be optimized. You are supposed to be a min-maxer or an optimizer in 3rd edition and 4th edition and 5th edition, because these later editions all stem from 3rd, right? That's kind of separated it from the 2nd edition AD&D and AD&D and BX. So I sent him that, and because I said, look, that's kind of the deal. You know, players' rule books have become more prevalent in what the players can do. I mean, Pathfinder has an advanced player's guide. You had a player's handbook back in the day, but it was very much like a rule book that kind of left out, well, even AD&D had, it was organizationally crazy, right? You couldn't even get saving throws for your character unless you had the DMG, which made no sense. But anyways, I think my point is that we went from games where the GM is the judge and rulings over rules, right? That's kind of the mantra of some of the OSR, and Matt Finch's, you know, Guide to Old School Gaming primer lays all this out. And Jeff says, well, isn't that the same still today? GM still has the last word. Well, it says that in many of the books, yes. You know, in the end, the game master, it's up to the game master. So they really default. It's kind of like the default lowest factor is the game master. But look at all these rules that the player has. Like, I have a feat that tells me I can do this. How can you tell me I can't do this? And frankly, there's some validity to that, because if I create a character and I choose and I make specific choices for that character, and then the game master doesn't allow me to use those choices, I'm going to get a little perturbed, rightfully so. So one of the things I explained to Jeff is how that game design has changed. And I don't know if he even, like, I know he realizes it, but he's been so in that world for quite some time. Some of you know that and have experienced that. And I'm like, you would be surprised at how many people are on our Discord that still run D&D 5th edition because their home group still wants them to run it because it's something that they're familiar with. They don't want to learn a new game. That's the biggest argument. And Jeff's like, you know, his significant other is exactly like that. She's like, I don't want to learn another game. Well, it's because she had to put so much effort into learning 5th edition and what all the moving parts are. And some people would say, well, there's easier games to learn, but I don't know if they believe that. They may believe every game is like 5th edition. And so there's this weird perception in the hobby that we run into with 5th edition players. Not all of them, but that may be an obstacle that some of us run into as we try to get other gamers to play other games other than 5th edition. Anyways, I don't know where the hell I'm going with this, but having Jeff on the show, I don't know. He is interesting. He's like, oh, I love this art. And, the philosophy around this game just makes so much more sense to me. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but you're not going to get like things on your character sheet that tell you that you get a +4 feat every 2 levels, and then you're going to be super kick-ass guy. Like, the kick-assness is what the person comes up with, and the GM kind of arbitrates, I guess. I don't know. Does that make sense? Let me go through these comments. Blast it all. Recently, Free League sent me the Forbidden Lands game, but I had to pay for it first. Oh, there you go, Caverna. There's a good policy. Mr. Hobbs says, I want Sean, a character with a stylized pompadour for a shirt. I would love to do that. Living Ritual, good to see you. I think trying to create your own show product based of what YouTube wants you to do will produce a product that is not you. Create what inspires you. And thank you. I appreciate that, Living Ritual. And I totally agree. And that's another thing, like, oh, I see all these guys. Oh, I'll do it like a show. I'll do it like them. And that's part of why I'm having this like existential crisis. That's really not a crisis, but you know. Nubis, I support Prenslow's Jeff idea. Oh God. look at Prenslow. You guys know Jeff, seriously? Yeah, baby. Yeah, Shambo. Ooh, that's gotta hurt. Right? That's Jeff. Sean, what I enjoy about your show beyond anything else is you love RPGs and it shows. Thank you, Ty. Appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going all in. I think over all these years, I know what I'm gonna do. I think I have an idea. Mr. Gabs says, Mr. Hobbs and friends and random screed. I'm overwhelmed every time sobering recognizes me or my voice. Someone, he says, it's overwhelming every time someone recognizes him or his voice. Yes. Yep. It is. Nubis, Jeff's a hit of a legend in these here parts. A bit of a legend. It works too. People appear. Whoop, skipped. Where'd it go? Later, Kelly. I think she's probably gone. Oh man, you guys went crazy and then I lost things here. Okay. Where was I? Prenzlau. People appear, say and do things just to be exploitive to create attention, but none of it is really genuine. That would be, yes, I agree. It's the shock jock, right? Something to be said about it. Morning, Joe Swick. I mean, the guy of all media, whatever, God of all media, like Howard Stern, that's how he became who he is. And I think he's settled down because it probably got to where he is. And then he's just like, I don't have to be such an edgelord all the time. Nail on the head, Sean Liu. Yep, thanks. Input people offer then helps create your show. Yes, I think so. For the most part, at least this. I mean, the feedback. Blake Ryan, the problem is what makes a good/interesting RPG is subject to opinion, and everyone that disagrees with me is wrong. There you go, Blake. Spoken like a true expert. Saltlandia, Burn 2D6 fame. Forming a new group now for new players at the FLGS, but they are interested in 5e, so I'll teach it and get them going. That's mighty nice of you. And I think a lot of people are like, well, why 5e? Well, it's because, I don't know. Tim Jensen mentioned this on our forum. I know Tim, and I've known him for years. He's a local guy. He opened my eyes to indie gaming. Like, I had no idea. He was the A gamer, the quintessential, I don't know, quintessential, but he was the type A gamer. When I showed up to a convention, he whipped out like 6 role-playing games, and they were all like these thin books, nothing too crazy, not 8.5, 11 huge 300-page tomes. And he's like, this is Dogs in the Vineyard. This is, and this is what you do in this game, and this is the mechanic. We could play it right now. Oh, and this is Al Harib the Roach, and this is Mage, or not Mage. Was it Mage? I don't know. The indie game. Sorcerer, maybe, from Ron Edwards. Who knows? And had I never talked to him, who knows? Like I have to give Tim a lot of credit. Like he opened up my eyes to quite a bit of that I never was in tune with. Could I have discovered him? Maybe down the road, sure. But it was at that point in time I can put my finger right there. And I'm like, oh, I know who these guys are. I knew Vincent Baker, before he did Apocalypse World. Knew of him, right, in his work. But these other folks are coming and hearing about D&D and Dungeons and Dragons, and it's the Kleenex of RPGs. But they want the Kleenex of RPGs. They want Dungeons and Dragons. It's on Stranger Things. It's on E.T. It's Joe Manganiello and his famous friends are playing D&D. There's live streams and it's D&D. So I want to Critical Role. It's D&D. I want to play D&D. So you give them D&D, whatever. And Tim was saying like, well, I just wish that people realized that they didn't have to get into that ecosystem or whatever. But the thing is that the marketing power of Wizards, nobody can touch. There's nobody can touch it. Like, it is so vastly, there's such a vast gap from their marketing budget to the next player in line. And the next player maybe, I don't know if it's even Paizo. I mean, maybe, but that's where, and it's the root of the hobby. It's like calling every car a Ford, until years later, they can see just as many Tales of the Valiant, Shadow of the Demon Lord, insert Apocalypse World engine game, Blades in the Dark, and it's happened, but it's slow. I don't know. Thanks, Kevin. It's all hard. I'll trick them into a session of Burn 2d6 in a month. In month 3. There you go. The little bait and switch. There are 25. Wow, that's awesome. But only a dozen thumbs up. That's what he's saying. Hey-o, give me a thumbs up if you're watching or listening. Sean's really getting into it. Yeah, I'm on a roll for sure. Thanks, Brenslaw. Appreciate it. All right. Kelly took off. I like to see Sean make a road trip. How with some live action? Oh, God. That's probably one of my shortcomings is my ability to hit the road. Roger, Sean was cool until he started growing that mustache and became too good for us non-mustache. I'm shaving this thing. God, I don't know if I can go any longer. Thanks, Lou. I appreciate it. Orcus Dorcas, is Sean done? I've been playing solitaire. Ha ha. You're funny, buddy. That's probably true though. Hire an intern, do the stuff. You do not, Sean. Well, yeah. I mean, I got to pay an intern. I work at corporate America. I think every intern should get paid. I don't know why anybody would do an internship and not get paid, but okay. Having a producer can make a huge difference for sure. I heard Jason Alexander and thought, wow. Did you hear Jason? No, Justin. Although Jason would be fun, I guess. I'm back. Needed coffee. Had to kick on the AC. Nice. Thanks for the update, Orcus. Let's see. All right, I'm getting there. A little low in volume, by the way. Am I? Okay, I apologize. I told early on before I started the show that I'm using a new audio interface, and I have the option to audio, automatically set my level, and maybe I could use. Well, I won't turn it up now because it'll screw up things. But good to know, Maddie. Living Ritual. I recommend the Axe system for people interested in OSE, OSR. I play in 2 Axe games and 1 OSE. The Axe system is OSE, but has more campaign and domain options to use. Why is somebody calling my work number? Has campaign and domain options to use, plus fighters are done right. Yeah, there's some people that aren't too big of fans of the author of Axe. Just a heads up on that. Living Ritual, it's one of those, can you separate the artist from the art? He's got a little edge of controversy to him, I'll just say. You make the judgment of your own, but if that's your jam, well. Wayne, folks should also look at Basic Fantasy, the OSR game, tons of resources. Oh, I've sent Jeff Basic Fantasy. I sent him a few just to kind of to pick his brain. So he's getting them and he's devouring them, and then we'll see. I'm like, what's your criteria? And the problem is cool art, Which Brenslaw could probably be laughing out loud right now. I love the art and the feel of this. This is just great. I feel it captures the essence of old school. And I'm like, what? What are you looking for, Jeff? Castles and Crusades, man. I don't know even how he got turned on to them, but he did and went out and bought 3 of the core books. Boom. And he liked the covers with the homage to AD&D, PHB, and Dungeon Master's Guide, which I like too. I like those covers. They're pretty cool. Tad says, no game is easier to learn than the one you already know. Indeed. Phil McClory, feats. One of the top 5 reasons I'm burnt out on 5e. On a bright note, next week we're playing Alien at the in-person table. Hey-o! Huge move for the group, finally breaking free of only playing D&D. Yeah, hope springs eternal, right, Phil? The Sentinel, feat is a pain in the butt. One guy in the group always takes it. Yeah. Congratulations, Phil. That's good. Yeah, says Wayne. Caverna, somehow I became part of this 5e group without playing any 5e stuff. I already introduced to them so many systems. Yesterday, for instance, we were playing Easy D6, and they loved it. That's awesome. Prenzlow, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for the compliment, buddy. Caverna, I like to tell people that there are more than 5e. Yeah. Phil McClory, D&D is like drinking Bud, a gateway beer. You drink it for a while, and hopefully you discover the craft brew section later on. Well, it's a perfect analogy. Like, life's too short to drink crap beer. And you only appreciate it once you get older and you have money to buy anything else but crap beer, says old Milwaukee drinker, former old Milwaukee drinker. Ty Prunty, nice. My nieces wanted to play D&D. I started playing ICRPG with them without telling them. After 5 sessions, I told them they now love ICRPG. That's awesome, Ty. Yeah. They don't know what D&D is. So if you gave them 5th edition or you gave them ICRPG, they think the experience is relatively the same. So that's fantastic. But there are some folks, I don't know how old your nieces are, Ty, but there are some individuals that will look at the book and go, this is not D&D. I want D&D. And I've seen that online where they're like, hey, let me, show you this one game. No, it's not D&D. I know it's got some of the same things and it's similar, and it's a game master and you make decisions and we roll dice. It's just a different framework, if you will. No, if it's not D&D, I don't want to play it. I want to play D&D like the D&D that they played in Stranger Things, even though they really don't know what that D&D is. So, Wayne, preach on. Unpaid internships are a great way to screen out the poor people. Yes, indeed. Living ritual. Yeah, when it comes to a game I'm playing, I don't let anyone's politics affect me. That's your choice, my good person. Roger French, I feel you need to meet people who are expressing interest where they are. If they want to try D&D, show them D&D. Show them others too. But don't say no, you don't want to play that. Agreed. We could just, and there are very good intentions. Like the person that posted to the Roll20 forum in response to that other individual. It isn't that they weren't like helping, it's just their approach. And I think if we just tweaked our approach, like how we framed things, it would just go a lot further. And some of us know how to do that, and some of us do not. Like, I work in tech recruiting. I love tech nerds. They're great people. Some are, you don't put them in front of a customer. And frankly, that's anybody. If they're an accounting person, they're great accounting people. Don't put them in front of a customer. It's not just the nerddom space. It's individuals as a whole. We just need to understand that. Phil, Sean, when are you going to provide some thoughts on how the Impossible Landscapes campaign ran? Are you happy with as far into the book you got? I want to debrief with the guys, but we were done with the scenario, and then it inherently went into it. So I stopped the recording and then I hit record again because I knew we were getting into some things that I thought were interesting. So the next game session, I told them, like, I would like to get some some feedback from you guys, even after you read the book. But I don't know if they will. So we'll see. I'm satisfied. I don't know if they are. We could talk, Phil, you and I, for sure. And frankly, I could put out a video because one of the things I mentioned before is, yes, I would do a review like on Impossible Landscapes, but I would do it from the chair that I sat in and ran it, which will create certainly a particular angle, if you will. Roger says, let people make their own informed decisions. Indeed. Prenzlau, I think Tomb of Horrors really started it all. It started the no-win scenario and added finally to the idea of having a party. Yeah, I agree. He continues, it made thousands of gamers come back because the bar was set at an impossible level. People inherently want some sort of ultimate challenge. And I agree, but I do think what happened over years was a lot of players were like, I'm kind of tired of this game master telling me what I can and can't do and shutting me down all the time. And that's not a great game master, and there's plenty out there. And I don't think that's an epidemic, But the newer games from like 3.0 and the D20 space on really tried, I think, to level that playing field quite a bit. Like it's not a rulings, we both agree that whatever's in this book and whatever's on my sheet, I'm able to do with these particular bonuses. And Game Master, if you decide I can't do that, then it can only be like these weird, extreme one-offs. Because I'm reading these rules, you're reading the rules. Like, it's just, I think that's where a lot of that comes from. Good or bad, take it for what it's worth. Saltheart, I'm offering Theros 5, Eberron 5e, Brancelonia 5e, Lord of the Rings 5e. Oh, that's interesting. We'll see what the newbies choose for setting. I'm good with any of these. That's true. Tad, would love to hear a debrief with your Impossible Landscapes players. Yeah, we'll definitely record it. Phil, too much hope is a sign of a brewer still learning the craft. Yeah. Nubis, Sean, please do a feedback review video for Impossible Landscapes. That would be really interesting. Yeah. Wait, are you saying GMs and players need to communicate? Lou, you just keep doing what you're doing, buddy. Vornak, hey, good to see you, Vornak. Yeah, just pull out beers, dice, games. Something will pull somebody out of the shadows to chime in. Good to see you. Wow, we haven't touched on anything and just gone off on this rant here. Not even a rant, this soapbox. So anyways, Jeff, interesting guy. I'd love to see his enthusiasm. You know, I sometimes wonder, like, hey, man, if you want to play AD&D, like, that's great. I don't know if I necessarily want to run it, you know. So we'll see where it goes. I think I know where he's leaning, but the thing is, there's so much stuff out there, you know, and I would encourage him to come on our Discord. And I said, look, man, you can come on our Discord. These guys might put you through the ringer. And they'll cough, like they did that with me. Like, why is Sean needs to find a fantasy. Why is he so down on fantasy? We got to find a fantasy game for Sean. And then it was like, okay, well, I think he likes this. I don't think he likes that. Oh, this would work. This game, he probably doesn't like the skills. And it, you know, it was interesting to see. And I know all with good intentions. And I don't know what that looks like. West Marches will be interesting because I think also I could easily default to something like, oh, it's OSC. Let's do that. And it's easy and it's an SRD and nobody has to buy the books. And there's something to be said about, you know, there's people like, I think Tim Jensen, going back to what he was mentioning in the Discord, like he doesn't believe somebody should have to buy a butt ton of books to play a game. And some people like, I agree. I mean, sure, I guess. And a lot of the SRD stuff is out there for some of the gooder. Wow. Why is that coming up? Some of the other like OSE 5e has an SRD. Tales of the Valiant will probably have one. So, you know, you don't need a book, so you want a low cost of entry. But I also have mentioned, like, there's so much value in an RPG. Like buying a $30 to $60 book and playing that thing for hours on end. Like, it's just, I've said it before, some of these could probably be, I think many of us would blow our shit, including myself, if I saw like the PHB for OSE's $100. No thanks. So I think there is a price point, but I do think I think as we look back, and I'm not 20, right? Like I'm a little longer down in my career and job and, you know, where I'm at financially, where, you know, I can make some more whimsical decisions, if you will, with my money than somebody that's a little bit younger that doesn't have disposable income at you know. But the value of some of these books, I don't know. Vornak, I only communicate to my GM through my D&D lawyer. As you should. Doesn't everybody? Friendslaw, if the players lose respect for a DM or GM, then that campaign will usually fail. A great DM knows when to be assertive and knows when to let their players be creative. Agreed. It is a very delicate balance. You got to let them fly through the air, do interesting things, have fun. They also have to understand you're not out to get them. You know, it's a weird balance, man. Weird balance. It always has been. And Prenzlau was he's my first dungeon master, everybody. Prenzlau was. I think he was. Pretty sure he was. So that's how I met him. D&D. So he was the guy we would get together and go, we want to play D&D on Saturday. And it's the summer of 1986 or whatever. Yeah, we want to play D&D. Yeah, we got a new module. We want him to run it. Go up to his house. Hey, we want you to run this. Ty says Dresden Files RPG world building, where we build the world, and where I stopped playing in the world, where I had to learn to play in this world, changed how I RPG forever. Yeah, it's a learning. It's always learning, right? Caverna, usually I like to create the setting together with the group, sourcing the table. Some people don't like that. Some people like, that is not my job. You are game master. You don't ask me what the name of the tavern is. Okay. Like, there are some pretty strong opinions some in the RPG hobby. Shocker! Next campaign's going to be on a classic medieval fantasy meets The Walking Dead. Something like Zombicide, Black Plague, says Caverna. Sweet idea, says Ty. Nubis, for my home group, if I can't teach my players the rules verbally, I'm not running it. They love to play, but never read more than a cheat sheet. Wish it was different, but I'll take what I can get. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, let's see. Let's whip through some stuff, huh? Shall we? Okay, let's get into some stuff. Remember, give me a like or give me a thumbs down and subscribe. Subscribe. Don't miss a post. Okay, good. I won't. So Alpha Stream, I know Teos, I don't think you can get a bigger fan of 5th edition in my opinion, or D&D, but whatever. So consider the source. But Pathfinder never outsold 4th edition. So it's something to bring to our attention in this 2021 time frame, even though it's 2 years later. Chris Sims, who had been very instrumental with D&D at one point in time and around 4th edition, and worked for Wizards of the Coast, and you can find him on some social medias. I don't know where he's working now and what he's doing, but you know, Alpha Stream decided to dig all these up and post them. I don't know, in an effort to correct everybody that D&D is king, probably, and always has been king and always will be king. Anyways, I did think it's interesting, but because I also want, like, it should be about truth, in my opinion. Like, did Pathfinder really outsell 4th edition? Did it? Because we were only going off of ICV2. And ICV2 only went off of numbers that were in the distribution channels. So it was kind of like, well, you know, if we just do this kind of research, you could conclude that, and nobody was public back then, so nobody's divulging the numbers. So Chris says, to kill a myth, 4E did fine financially. It didn't do as well as Wizards Hasbro hoped in the long term, 7. I don't know if that's 7 months, 7 years, but the game did fine early in its life cycle. I assure you, it outsold Pathfinder by a large factor. The idea that it was otherwise is optics, popular myth, and not truth. 4E always outsold Pathfinder, always. So Teos put in his own 2 cents, and then I continue with Chris's tweet. To kill a myth, 4E did fine financially. Read the same tweet. And then he continues, 2 of 7. And yes, Pathfinder was very successful. It was selling well in core game shops during the era. That's where the charts in ICV2 came from. The truth that Pathfinder was selling well in core stores doesn't mean it was outselling 4E D&D in the whole marketplace. It wasn't at all. Chris continues, other factors did more harm to D&D and WotC at the time from a business perspective than 4E falling short from the top. Sean, action. Other factors did more harm to D&D and WotC at the time from a business perspective than 4E falling slightly short of its numbers. Glee Max, anyone? That failed network is the main reason D&D digital tools never materialized. Dreamblade? Hectotome? I remember those. It was a time when Hasbro was looking to spend on the next big thing. WotC gambled on a lot of properties at the time, from attempting to create that ill-fated social network to new IPs and game tech. Little panned out, and D&D marketing wasn't stellar then either. Continue. Now, this is all back from December of 2021. I don't know how I missed it. Probably, I don't even know what I was doing back then. Probably gaming. I was doing Gaming Best, but I'm surprised this didn't pop up. Chris continues. The vitriol 4E evoked in its time, along with the birth of Pathfinder and its success in the core hobby market, created an illusion that 4E was some kind of problem child for WotC. But even when overproduction led to essentials in the midterm, that was just an illusion. The 4E myth seems plausible, had some strong, if disingenuous, proponents. Part of 4E's problem was too many books too quickly from the game's inception, and developing 5E was an intentional and successful bid to boost sales as 4E waned, but 4E did okay in its time. His last tweet on it says, anyone with an idea of how corporate finance and accounting works knows that not hitting the numbers is not the same as objectively unsuccessful. 4E didn't always hit the numbers, but it was never a financial disaster. That's the point. Right. That's good stuff. Owen K.C. Stevens had responded responded a day later and mentioned this as well, which is interesting. And he says, at Chris Sims and I have both worked for both WotC and Paizo. D&D 4E outsold Pathfinder. So he's confirming Chris's statements. That does nothing to diminish Pathfinder's spectacular success. It's overheard isn't like WotC's either. I don't know, mentioned overhead. Maybe it's a typo. But ask anyone who has worked at the companies, and they'll all agree 4E sold more. And then he continues, and those retails had what access to sales info from Walmart. All statements about how well PF1 versus 4E D&D are anecdotal. No one outside Amazon knows how the Amazon lists way older sales. No one outside Paizo knows how many subscriptions they have. No one outside WotC. No one outside WotC knows how many big box store sales they got. No, not even Paizo or WotC know for sure how their sales did compared to each other. Retailers and distros see only tiny slices of sales numbers, which are highly regionalized. He continues, Owen K.C. Stevens. Chris and I worked on staff at both WotC and Paizo. Freelancers don't have access to things like internal sales numbers, print runs, marketing plans, and budgets. We did. Feel free to believe what you like, but I don't think any employee of their company disagrees with us. There you go. Pretty interesting. And writing, like I was always like, I went off of ICV too, but I also understood that that's exactly it. Like, we don't know. They're merely speculating based on some access to some of the channels that they have. So, and agreed, right? If WotC put the bar up here, they may not have seen it as a success. Doesn't mean that it was financially bad. And I don't know if anybody really did. Like, I don't think any of us said, oh, it was financially detrimental to Wizards. They may have had a high standard and goals that they wanted to hit that they didn't, but that doesn't mean it didn't sell at all or was financially detrimental to the company. So that's good. Good to know. I mean, it's good to know now. I'm just not sure why he's posting it now, other than, like, I don't know. Like, he's just, dude, that guy, he's the same individual that, like, oh, did I turn that off? He's the same person that got on Christian's case for Savage Eberron. Like, he's just, so good that it's set straight. I'm not reading his commentary because I think Chris and Owens stands above. Let's see. Well, this is so. Here's now Troy LaValle. Any of you that are Glass Cannon fans, Glass Cannon Network, huge network. You know, they're their own business. Some guys have created or quit their day jobs and become full time. And Troy has realized, you know, don't ever give statements. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. Just don't do it. Person comes to you for a press or a statement, just don't give one. Stay away. Just don't. I don't know. Sounds good. Yes, you know. So he has learned the hard way. I don't know Troy from a hole in the ground. I listened to him. I don't know how you could take somebody as serious as Troy, and I'll tell you why, because in his Delta Green play, his character's name is Roger Cumstone. So, like, I don't know. He's getting pretty raked across the coals, at least. Anyways, so Polygon put out an article to say, hey, now that there's an actor strike, will it impact actual play series like Critical Role, blah, blah, blah. Like, what does that look like? Now, Critical Role is filled with voice actors, and I'm sure they're all union individuals. And they put out a I don't even think Critical Role put out a statement. I think they just said, hey, it's not going to impact. This is what they said. We fully support the strike and stand in solidarity with our fellow actors. Critical Role to Polygon in an email Friday morning. Currently, our release schedule is not impacted by the strike, but we will continue to evaluate and take the necessary steps should it be impacted in the future. Troy went on there and, like, he produced a statement, and people were like, that's anti-union, and he's faced with being fricasseed online. And then he subsequently went out there and said, okay, hold on. People lost their shit. And so it's like, why am I on this? He released, darn it, I keep clicking on the wrong thing. I want the update. And he put this out on Twitter as well as, I think, Threads. Where he's like, hey, earlier I put out a statement. I was asked to give a statement on how the strikes would affect the production of our content. Answering that question in a way that would assure our fans who depend on our content that we're not going anywhere was my goal. In my haste to reply, I should also have considered that people who don't know me or the Glass Cannon Network and my sense of humor would be reading and been more clear in my response. I am obviously not some wealthy corporate overlord. I'm just a guy that started a podcast with his friends that turned into a still very small business that now supports several families and individual lives. I'm also a 20-plus year card-carrying member of SAG, and another one of our executive team is WGA. I apologize for being glib in my response and not answering more thoughtfully. Anyone who knows us, the good we do, not only in the gaming community but beyond. I personally have had a very complicated relationship with the acting unions over the past 2 decades, and I would be just disingenuous if I said that didn't color the vagueness of my initial response. But I fully support making sure the little guy isn't taken advantage of by the big guy. Lesson learned. Just don't. Just see, wow. Yeah. And if you listen to, it wasn't Troy, it was Oh God, who is the other guy? The red-haired guy. What is his name? Anyways, he was on Craig's podcast. Craig Shipman's Third Floor Wars. Go and check it out. I'm going to probably listen to it because it's very insightful on how these guys have built Glass Cannon Network and what they did and some of the obstacles that they faced. And one of the obstacles was I think they want a certain level, a certain person to play in their games. And some of those are like actors. And with actors, they're union. So they had to navigate that because does the contract and what they kind of their membership into the union, how does that translate into actual play? And it was very interesting. So like even trying to get it's something outside of acting, but then the union doesn't see it that way. So if you listen to that, it is you'll get a little bit more insight to, I think, Troy's context. So that's kind of lost. Yeah. So Sean, you just say card carrier. I am not, because I am not an actor or camera person or grip or whatever. Caverna, nowadays it is always a problem to express your opinion on a subject. Yes, it is. Gabe, good to see you, buddy. But now I want to know more about this complicated relationship with the actors union. Right. Yes. Well, so listen to Craig Shipman. God, somebody help me out. I think it was Joe. Yes, Joe. Joe from Glass Cannon Network. He's the red-haired dude. The ginger. Sorry, Joe. I love gingers. Anyways. But he did talk about a piece of that. He didn't get into a lot of detail, but he was like, still, it was like this weird dynamic, like, hey, we just want you to be on our show, and they pay their people, and I would think they are. I can only assume they are. They say they are, right? But it was, yeah. I mean, and there's restrictions, like when you're union, like what you can do and what you can't do, and what others can do and what they can't do. And I think there's this weird, like, it's not. He had to explain it. Like, this is a role playing game. This is not a screenplay. There's no script there. It's like not. It's not in the same purview as a television, radio, movie piece. So I don't know I don't know if that was just like, okay, we finally understand, and then he's got the folks that are on the show, or what, honestly. Yeah, it is interesting. Well, and with critical, so here's the thing that I've seen online as well. If you are a cosplayer, so I follow this person on Instagram, and they are a cosplayer, and they go to a lot of, and they must be in the LA area, and they're really good, like a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of design. And I'm sure somehow they get invited to a lot of these movie premieres, and they literally walk down the red carpet. They get pictures with some of the stars. They have their own fan base. They yell from the red carpet at these cosplayers, and people will say those cosplayers aren't SAG members. They're not union members. But so they'll say, like, if you are a cosplayer, like if you're an actor and you go to, I don't know, a premiere, or you cross the picket line, like, you're a scab, okay? You're not supporting what's going on. If you are a cosplayer, you're not part of the union, but if you go to a premiere, it's I think basically they tell them, like, you're an ass. So even if it doesn't financially impact you, or you're not a union person and you're not scabbing, you're not showing your support for the people that are striking. So I am interested to see, because this person does a lot, and I'm sure there's going to be some more movie premieres that are, the filming's been done, so they're going to put it out. Like I heard when they went on strike for Oppenheimer, I think Matt Damon and a few of the others got up and walked out. As soon as they heard it was on strike, they literally got up out of the premiere and walked out. I read an article. I don't know if I think it's true. So interesting as it relates to the actual play space. Because how does that roll into Dimension 20 and some of these other agencies, and even Critical Role? So yeah, Troy learned the hard way. Yeah. From tons of people that probably don't watch Glass Cannon Network at all, which is fine. But anyways, Wayne says, I love the idea of folks making a living at our hobby. I don't think it's shameful to make a living writing and selling games, etc. No. Tad says, I think it was Joe. Yes. Ty, but you act like you like D&D when we know you do not. Who, me? Maybe. Nubis, not enjoying something doesn't mean you hate it or don't appreciate it. It's for what it is and does well. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about like the article, Ty? Yeah. Well, whatever. So, yeah. Yeah, Troy. What else? There's a few things. We don't have a ton of time. Let's see if we can move through what is like up and what's new and coming, I guess. See ya, Caverna. Thanks for joining. Have a good weekend. Cairn 2E playtest is available for Cairn lovers. If you haven't downloaded it, check it out. Second edition at long last. The player's guide is available, but wait, please sign up for my newsletter. I host the software on my own server, so you can be sure I won't share your info. I promise I'll only use it to tell you about Cairn. If you already dive into it, here it is. Printer-friendly version. There's a Cairn Discord. Rules. The core rules are 100% compatible with Cairn 1E. Of course, there's some significant changes. Bonds and omens, procedures, implied setting, the future. That's it. What about the box set? Da-da-da. There you go. So check that out. Whoa. I don't know what those ads are about. Okay. Oh, interesting. Ty says, writer strike, the Guild YouTube show last time this happened. Oh, that's a good point. With Felicia, right? Felicia Day? Yeah, right. Yeah, Felicia Day. And yeah, they were like, that's, I think, like a whole different ball game, right? That's scripted, not an actual play. Like it's hey, I'm going to do a TV show and the characters are going to be, online RPG players and part of a group. And they were all, I'm sure, all like actors and actresses that had gotten into that. New solo Star Trek TTRPG Captain's Log hits pre-order. So Modiphius, publisher of the Star Trek Adventures, interesting. Like it is a line. Like here are 3 of the products. Maybe these are alternate covers. So yeah. It can be played solo or cooperatively with friends. If playing solo, players will take on the role of captain and be responsible for making all the decisions. If playing cooperatively, players will work together as a team to complete the mission. Star Trek Adventures Game Masters can use the random story tables in Captain's Log to generate hours of memorable adventures with new alien species 2 and lost civilizations in them. New alien species 2 and lost civilizations. 2 as in TOO, like 2 as in also. Ugh. Editing is dead. Long live blogs. See ya, Living Ritual. Thanks for stopping in. So there you go. Star Trek lovers, solo players, cooperative players. I got a sneeze coming on. Oh, pardon moi. Oh, boy. Just looking at things. Oh, this is kind of interesting. I'll go to this one before it gets too late. So, you guys love this. Uncaging Nicholas is a multiversal TTRPG starring every Nicolas Cage. Why am I not in this movie? Why am I not in this role-playing game? Jess the Human describes the TTRPG as a rules-light odyssey through Nicolas Cage multiverse. I see another application to this RPG. Everybody's Matt Colville. Yeah. Sweet Jesus, take my money. Nicolas Cage is a fascinating actor who has managed to cling to the zeitgeist across numerous decades. Please get off, pop-up. Thanks to his memorable over-the-top acting performances, wacky antics, and his genuine likability, he's a wild character, frequently baffling, and willing to lampoon his own legacy with parody appearances as himself in flicks like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent and video games via Dead by Daylight. Now you'll be able to dive deep into his strange and unfathomable charms in a brand new tabletop role-playing game. Oh, man, that is hilarious. In it, you and your friends will embody a variety of Nicolas Cages from across the Nick Cage multiverse, a realm populated by every character played by Nicolas Cage in the world of cinema and beyond. This would be awesome as a live play with like 4 comedians that could all, in some way, shape, or form, imitate Nicolas Cage. Oh, everybody's Vin Diesel. Yeah, just throw it in, right? Oh, man. There you go. Check it out. According to Jess, it was Cage's strange filmography and his sheer dedication to being weird that formed the basis of the idea for the game. I thought Salzwedel was binge watching all of Nicolas Cage movies and starting at the beginning and going forward. I have to check. I think he was. I don't know if he ever completed it though. So I won't read the whole article, but if you want, the link is in the chat. It's on itch. Launching 18th of July. So in 3 days from this recording. Wow, it sounds like a hot mess at the table. I'm here for it. Amazing that they got the IP for that. Oh, I am sure that's been completely vetted, Kevin. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure Nick Cage is signed off on it and getting royalties. Yeah, no problem. It's all good. Look at him. The licensing across studios. Hard to imagine the intricacies of the IP. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Cage seemed really excited during Summer Game Fest about adding his voice to his new Dead by Daylight character. He even claimed he voiced the grunts and character noises. I think 60 Minutes did an interview with him. Very interesting. Kind of actually boring. Like, it's like he's just talking about who he was and he's just a down-to-earth guy. But his portfolio is all, like, interesting. Nick Cage. Let's see. What else should we bring up? Well, let's see. We'll try to like rapid fire some of this. Fair use as parody, maybe? Well, possibly. I think it's just so under the radar of anybody that, you know. What are they going to do? Sue a single person that makes like zero money off of it? Yes. All right. Okay. So Ian World, check out ianworld.org for all these things, news, reviews, what's going on. Thanks, Ian World, for doing all the grunt work. Link in the chat. So Critical Role is going to be at Wembley Arena. Crazy. Wembley Arena? What? Yeah. Dude, role-playing games in like 20 or 30 years is just going to be off the hook. Like, they're going to be selling out arenas. People are going to buy tickets to watch people play. It's going to be streamed on TV. And then they're going to have like this source crowding Kickstarter thing where they make like millions of dollars and put out an animation series. I'd be like, who are you? What are you? Get out of here. That's no way. Look at this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And this is why I say D&D, I don't know. Like this landscape, D&D may never, like, it could be the freaking game that Critical Role puts out to be the next D&D. Who knows? So there you go. Get your tickets. Paizo and Mirrorscape announced a collaboration to create an augmented reality app. I thought this was brought up before. Maybe it's just making its rounds. So this is their, like I said, this is their answer to competing, obviously, with the changing landscape and D&D's one D&D digital movement. So this will be interesting. And they license miniatures and terrain from companies like Dwarven Forge, Reaper, Hero Forge, Fat Dragon Games, blah, blah, blah on the app. So they're partnering with Paizo. Yay. There you go. Multiverse role-playing game, Spider-Verse expansion for the Marvel Entertainment. Well, here's a question. So Marvel Entertainment announced a new expansion for Marvel Multiverse role-playing game based on the hit Sony Films titled Spider-Verse Expansion. Do we have an obligation to like not buy this? Should we? There's going to be people in the world that say, hey man, during the strike, you should not buy stuff from Marvel. And this is a role-playing game and it's like part of Marvel, right? I don't think the union, would actors get on our case for going to see a movie? I think if it's already filmed, right? Because like then the actors are getting paid and they've gotten paid for that. I don't know. What about this thing? Do we? So this the rulebook for Marvel Multiverse role-playing game is due out in August, while the X-Men expansion is scheduled for February 2024, and Spider-Verse expansion scheduled for summer 2024. I don't think it's correlation. Yeah, okay. I don't know. Just throwing it out there, given the landscape. Ennies, I mentioned that. Go check it out and vote. Winners will be announced August 4th at Gen Con. They did stream it one year. I'm sure they're still streaming it. I don't know when the voting ends and closes. Probably a week. Star Trek Adventures, mentioned this, Captain's Log, solo role-playing. Check it out. 326-page rulebook. Features streamlined version of the 2D20 system and over 100 random generation tables for missions to allow you to play through the adventures of your Starfleet captain and the crew of your ship by yourself or collaboratively. This may be interesting to get. I know, Gabe, you might have, I don't know if you're still there. This might be interesting to check out, like just to create decent missions. I don't know. Comes in 4 different covers. Okay, so it's the same book, 4 different covers. Got it. That helps. It's digest sized, which I like. Pre-order, $40. Blade Runner, Free League's expanding Blade Runner, which is cool. So there's 2 things they're putting out. First is a case file, Fiery Angels box set adventure, similar to the first one they put out. And then the next one is going to be a second book, which is Replicant Rebellion, an expansion and alternate campaign setting that allows players to join the ranks of the Replicant underground in Los Angeles 2037 and form their own resistance cell under Freysa Sedagapur's leadership. So I heard the book is going to be more like a cyberpunk, because all the core is like you're playing, everybody's a cop, right? Blade Runners, they're cops. So the expansion is not going to be cops. Streamlined. Yeah, buddy. Defiant, the role-playing game. So Defiant, Magpie Games released Defiant, a post-apocalyptic urban fantasy game. When End of Days came and fallen angels are set to take over the world, these defiant aristocrats decided to switch sides and protect the humans by placing protective seals around their cities. 600-page hardcover. What? Wow. $60. Yikes. 600 pages, man. Big tomes. I don't know, man. I don't know. What else did I want to go through? Print news, maybe? Print news. Did I just... We're like 5 minutes left. Print news, maybe? I don't know. Really enjoying Blade Runner. Have 2 sessions left. Good. More is coming for the game. I'd like to see what some community put out too, because I think there's some good scenarios out there that maybe they're just live stream. They came up with ones that are good. I'd like to know those. Print news, Cobalt Press, Exalted Funeral, Catalyst, and more. Yeah, 600 pages, man. It's crazy. For Magpie, man. So let's see. Toma Beast 1, 2023 edition. Toma Beast 1 Pocket Edition. Toma Beast 1 Limited Edition. Cobalt Press, D&D 5th Edition. There you go. I heard they had a big sale, too. Like, Cobalt Press is selling a lot of stuff. I think it's probably all 5e based. Probably making room for Tales of the Valiant coming through. But if you want some tomes of monsters and beasts that your players aren't going to guess the details of, it's a good source for you. Second one, Blood Theater by Phalite Studios, 5th edition supplement, $10. GM Screen Cthulhu D&D 5e. There you go. DCC Cathedral of the Undying by Studio 9 Games. Softcover adventure module. It's a level 5 adventure into a cursed cathedral where death is only the beginning. Next one, Old School Essentials stuff. Zombies, Defending an Ancient Temple, Elder Oak, Monsters. So What's So Rotten About Zombies Defending an Ancient Temple? That's the name of that one. And then Volume 2 Monsters, Oktoberfest, and Elder Oak. All stuff, $15 each for each one of these. It goes into detail about what they are. It's about OSE, OSR. What's so cool about is the system. There you go. Shadowrun, Body Shop. I think we knew this was coming. Now it's out. Velvet Generation by XIG Games. Softcover rulebook. Years 2073. Aliens have arrived, but Earth is not what they expected. Humanity is taking a dark turn, silencing music, the arts, literature, any kind of expression they believed could inspire dangerous thoughts. Ooh, it sounds dangerous. It sounds depressing. No YouTubers? No podcasters? Ministry of Music looms large over the entire world, stamping out rebellious culture with steel-sheathed jackboots. Code Warriors. Code Warriors. Nobody's gonna code. Hardcover rulebook, $40. Upgrade your code, avoid deletion, survive the collapse, rebuild your world. PCs are programs living inside a computer world. I think we covered this when it was a Kickstarter. Computers crashing, perhaps for the last time. It's the apocalypse. PCs had a specific role in the previous world, but now they have to find their way when all the old structures are gone. There you go. There you go. I'll hang it up there. I got to go in the Kickstarters. So thanks for everybody that's joined. It was a good conversation today, I think. It was productive. I think there were some highlights. I don't know. It's always good to meet with you guys. Really appreciate it. Be here next week, 8 a.m. Central Time. Stream every Saturday. Reminder, if you haven't, hit the big old thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe, all the YouTube-y thingies. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say. Be a positive force in the tabletop RPG hobby. Hang out with people you love. And play some games. Create, learn, move. I'll check you on the next one. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Truly blessed. Oh, I don't want to forget these guys. Patrons, thank you so much for supporting me with a tithe each month. I really do. It does help, and I appreciate it. And you guys will be on the list of my West Marches invitees. So you got that going for you, which is pretty nice. All right, more to come, everybody. Now that my Impossible Landscapes night is going to be free every other week, I'm going to try to see if I can manage a West Marches game maybe. I like the concept. I got to move the nights around every couple weeks so people have a chance to play when they want and things of that nature. So, yeah. Try maybe some other games. Who knows? Thanks so much. Again, I'll let you go.